Hello, friends. We are back for another passion break, and we have a very special guest today to share with everyone. But before we do, I'm going to be introducing our conversation for today. And as always, if you're here with us and you're listening in, please put some hi, how are you in the chat so we know that everything's working and you can hear us fine. So today's topic is all about creating some practicality out of some really heavy and elusive words, literally passion and purpose. It's our jam. So what we want to do today specifically is have a conversation where we can bring some of the science in, some of the studies we've been doing over the past few years to ground these concepts in a way that can be useful and supportive to helping you to achieve these states and get connected to these states no matter what you're doing. So before we get all into the convo, I want to take this opportunity to introduce Lauren into the conversation. You guys are going to just absolutely love her. We fell in love with her and now we're keeping her. So Lauren, why don't you come aboard and tell us a little bit about you, what you do, how you're connected to this conversation. And then when you're finished with that, we will get to Tracy and then we'll start everything off.
Amazing. Thank you for that great introduction. Kira and I met several months ago and just fell in love with each other's philosophies and who we are and what we do. And then I had the benefit of meeting Tracy and integrating into her conversations and some of her stuff, and fell in love with the Passion Center, what it is, what it does, the mission, the whole thing. And so I'm an executive leadership coach. I am a former corporate workaholic who discovered that while I was coaching other people to live their own amazing lives, I was sitting in mine saying, I can't have that. And I finally brought it all together through a lot of my own coaching exploration and my own personal development, and took my coaching side gig to full time. And now I coach other high achievers and workaholics. And our relationship has developed beyond networking and friendship. And now I am also training to be a passion-based instructor and work with your team and partner with you all to just keep building what you're building. So I'm really happy to be here. Super excited to be working with you.
And I am so excited about all the juiciness that Lauren brings to the table. Guys, she's like becoming a quick fave, just by the by. All right. And Tracy, you're up.
Hey peeps, I'm Tracy Borison. I think most of you are familiar with me. I'm normally here on Passion Break. What do I normally say? I'm a personal branding coach. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about the conversation about passion is because when it comes to our personal brand, which to me is the experience we leave other people with when we leave the room, it's really about like, how do we get to show up? And when we're tapped into our passion, that gives us a way of showing up that, I don't know, I've been using the word vibe a lot this week, and it just like creates a vibe, right? And it allows people, the right people, to vibe with you, which is what happened with Lauren and Kira, what happened with me and Kira and Lauren and me and all of the things, right? And so, but that's based on like kind of getting to the root of these things. And this is what we do in Passion Break, is we have the conversations that open up the doors to get to the root of some of these things. So as always, I'm super happy to be here today, even though I don't know, Kira, if you saw my note. I was trying to create the like Passion Break VIP room. It's just not working. So we will be live in the Passion Lab after this, but we will just be live. There's no link. Just go in and find us live.
And we'll give you all those. We'll set you up, guys. We will set you up. So if you're looking for a way on how to do that, we'll give you some directions when it's that time. So let's kick this off. We've got half an hour and with you guys. And I mean, listen, this is my passion. So I could talk about this for hours, days, months. I've been doing it for years, actually. So let's bring in some new voices, Lauren. When you think about passion, when you think about purpose, when you think about grounding it into a conversation to make it practical and useful, what are some of your definitions that come up? How do you talk about passion and purpose in your line of work, and then we can have a narrative around that.
Yeah. So something you and I really connected on in our first conversation, Kira, was that, my tagline is "fine is a trap." And that I believe that we start settling for fine. We are ambitious, we're excited, we're hard workers, we're high achievers, and we get good at something and we keep pushing at that thing. And even if we don't like it anymore, even if it's not serving us anymore, we do what our skill sets tell us we're good at, not necessarily what we want to be doing. And so fine, we discussed, is like the opposite of passion, right? Because it's, if you hate something, you're still passionate about it, right? So positive passion and fine are opposites, because fine is just settling. And it's just saying to yourself, it's like this self-soothing, like, it's fine, they pay me a lot of money, it's fine, this is the career I chose, right? And we get into this rut. And the truth is that just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should be doing it for the rest of your life. And so with my clients, the way that this comes up is we start by determining, like, what's not working? What do you not want anymore? Because that's the easiest. Our brains just go to the negative. And so let's clear that. Let's get all the things you don't want anymore out on the table. And then look at, well, what's the opposite of that? And is that what you want? And if not, then, like, how do we get qualitative about it and figure out what you actually want? What is your passion, and what is going to drive you to be excited? And I think for me, passion is waking up every day and just knowing that what is ahead of you is what you actually want. And at the end of each day, being able to say, I chose this, and not, it's fine, this is what I picked 100 years ago, and what my mom told me I might be good at, and, and really going after what you want. And for a lot of my clients, it's taking half of their job description out of their resume.
Right.
Because we put in our resumes what we are good at, not what we want to do. And when you can really highlight what you want to do, even if that's only 10, 25% of what you're actually doing, if that's what lights you up and makes you so freaking excited to be in a career or to be an entrepreneur, like, that's what you build on, is that small percentage of the stuff that really lights you up. That was a very, very long answer to your question of what do I think passion is.
Girl, let me tell you, it was all the things, though. And I think one of the common mistakes is that we, when it comes to concepts like passion, when it comes to concepts like purpose, there's a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people talking about it sometimes, like, they're trying to be helpful, but it can really mix the pot and muddy the waters a little bit, right? So there's this, a few years ago, Mark Cuban, billionaire who gives everybody advice. And he was saying that, you shouldn't follow your passion, you should follow what you're good at. And I was vehemently against that statement. It triggered me in such a way that forced me into looking at like, well, why is that such a trigger? Why are you so opposed to that? And what I discovered along the way is that what we learn to be good at and what we're passionate about are very separate things. I, in my personal career, was connected to many people that were highly talented at what they did, hated their life. So at what point do we look at the correct inputs for passion and purpose versus just our assumptions based on our own lived experience? And I think because and I think that's what attracted me to want to go deeper. I wanted to see, well, okay, so what are the actual inputs that create that experience of passion? And what is the relationship between passion and purpose? Because there's also a lot of noise around that too. And that can be a very polarizing conversation, with some people saying, oh, it's about passion. No, it's about purpose. And quite frankly, it's a little, I don't know, like moot, because they are intertwining concepts. When you really get to the root of what it is, it's about meaning. We talk about it a lot. So Tracy, what are some of your thoughts moving into this and reactions to what Lauren shared?
Yeah, to me, especially the word purpose just sounds really big, right?
Mm.
And people are like, I gotta find my purpose. And I don't know. You guys probably guessed that we're going to be coming to this at some point, but the Passion Center has a formula for what this means. And so I'm just going to reveal it now. So hopefully that didn't burst your bubble, Kira. But I think the really interesting thing is people think it's this like huge thing, right? And I got to find my purpose. And what I love about the simplicity of how the Passion Center defines it is that passion is meaning times investment. So when I do something that's meaningful and I invest time in doing that, that is when I experience passion. And purpose is passion shared. So now it's about taking that to other people. And that may be a small amount of people. It may be a huge amount of people. Everybody's different. Everybody's journey is different. But it's about sharing that and like bringing it to somebody else. And I really love that because then it doesn't sound quite so daunting, right? It doesn't look like I have to dig through like all of these really, like I have to play basketball and I have to dance ballet and I have to read all the books and I have to build all the Lego and I have to like do all the things to figure out like what my passion is or what my purpose is, right? Like when you can dig down to those inputs that you mentioned, that's really where it's found. And then it's just about sharing it with other people. And one of the places where I live so much in my coaching on the personal branding side is that you have a unique way to share that with the people. There's not one way that all people share their passion with the people, right? You have your way. And what is your way? It might be a quiet, non-aggressive way. It might be a big showy way, right? Like it might be a one-on-one coaching, helping individual people way. It might be a, like we have Hal here, like just let's try and reface the entire education system way, right? Like there's, we're all behind you, Hal. It's going to take a minute, but like, these are the things, right? Like everybody has their own way. And when we can take those inputs and puzzle them together into our way, that's what purpose is. And at that point, I think it starts to sound a little more accessible, that we can actually like, oh yeah, we could actually all find a way to have purpose. And I think, yeah, it's not a one size fits all. Here's what purpose looks like. Now go find it, right? Like,
I think I'm going to probably do a post on this, spoiler alert, but there's been something that has been maturing in my mind a little bit over this past 2 weeks, like just being in Costa Rica. I geek out over natural systems and ecology. That's my jam. I just love learning about how nature organizes itself. And, it's been around for 4 billion years and a lot longer than I have. So I want to learn me through the lens of nature because we're not disconnected. And I started to think about, well, why do humans have this like almost incestuous need to feel like we belong somewhere? And so I was reminded of this relationship, this ecological relationship between the eye monkey and the woodpecker out in Madagascar. And the eye monkey, if you haven't seen it, it's a lemur, and it's got these big eyes and these really long alien-looking ET fingers. And the reason for their really long ET fingers is that their job in the ecology of life is to poke into these tree holes and have long enough fingers, sticky at the tips, to get termites out of it and eat it. So their entire job function is to keep the termite population down. However, when they move out of the environments, another species comes in, the woodpecker, and the woodpecker has the beak that's long enough to do that. The whole thing about it, when you really reflect, is you're like, wow, nature as a species, as a collective, we all have roles. And at some point, humans interplayed in that system, and humans as a species had a role. But we've been walking out of the forest for 200,000 years, right? So we've been leaving home for a long time. And in the leaving home, I feel like we've become a little nomadic. There's this hardwired need to want to do something, to want to contribute in a meaningful way, to want to be valuable. And because we've kind of lost our specified definition, we've created an individual definition. So, how do we as individuals find that? How do we as individuals create that value, that relationship, that connection with life that helps it feel like it's meaningful and worth something? And I think that's the beauty and the curse about this whole idea of passion and purpose. The blessing is that for probably the first time in a species evolution, we have been able to individualize and become our own creators of our destiny and change our environments. No other species can do that. And yet, when we don't put it into practice, we can feel rather lost and misplaced in the whole grand scheme of things. So I think that's why this is so important and so juicy, because it's to remind ourselves that we have that gift, we have that blessing. Now the curse is you have to create your own environments and get out there and do things, right? And so it's this amazing, beautiful journey of finding meaning through the course of life. And by bringing these concepts down and really understanding the shape of how you get there is, I think, probably the most helpful way of getting there. Oh, yes, it's about meaningful. Oh, yes, passion is about you, not about anything outside of you. What makes you feel good? The things that feel natural to you. So what is it? What are those things that feel natural to you? And I think those are some of the juicy kind of conversations I like to be in. So that was really long too. So high five for length of convo.
And I love how the formula talks about that, because it's the expression of that purpose that really or the expression of that passion that really brings you to purpose. And you can live in this like quiet knowing of what your passion is and just have it die inside of you. Yeah. And it's that creation, that choosing that you don't want that to just go away and just sit inside of you forever, that moves you forward. And that has so much opportunity and so much possibility for a beautiful, full, fun, joyful life.
Yes, to all of that. Tracy, you're up.
I just am like, this happened to me in the Passion Break VIP room the other day, where I just am like feeling this so strongly, right? Like sometimes I think our experience of things really stays in our head, right? And we like think about things logically, and we have dictionary definitions of things, right? And we just it's quite honestly, for humans in general, I think it's easy to be logical, right? It's easy to be logical. We celebrate being logical and rational and all of these things, but we don't always take a moment to just appreciate that, like, oh, like we do, like we can have this power to like take that and own it and bring it to the people. And there's a different level of feeling that's involved in it. And I know we have some of our amazing Beta 2 group in the chat right now who's going through the 7 Days to Passion boot camp. And some of the things that I have realized this week is that it's important to take a minute and just like be in that energy, right? Because even though we talk about a lot of things in this program, the Passion Break program, that is knowledge-based, right? Wisdom-based, knowledge-based, head-based. But one of the most important things to like make that permanent, to make a permanent change with that knowledge, is to feel it in the moment, right? And it's actually it's been an interesting journey for me, because I think a lot of you probably experienced this about me, right? Like, I'm a talker. I have lots of opinions. I see lots of issues. I want to be able to talk and bring new ideas to the people. And what has really been happening for me this week is just like, I'm feeling like I need to just sit and just like be in it, right? Like be in the experience and not, and to contribute that way, right?
Mhm.
Because I think too that sometimes we feel like a contribution isn't happening unless we're actively participating, and that's not true when it comes to energy, right? Like there's so much energy contribution that can be contributed when you focus on the energy. And it to me, it just also really relates to this conversation about purpose, right? Because when you're talking about bringing a thing to the people, sometimes that's about just like letting people experience a thing, right? And like letting new information sink in for a minute before we jump. And like, quite honestly, when it's just me and Kira, we're like, we do this, right? Like, it's like one person says something and then we like play off each other. And then pretty soon we've been talking for 45 minutes and we're like, well, crap, now we're long again. But there's like so much power in just being able to like absorb what you feel is the truth, right? And that is, I think, critical component to like finding that purpose at the end of the day, right? Like I don't think we can learn about passion and purpose at just a mind level and then be able to execute these things, right? And to be able to celebrate the fact that like, wow, we're legitimately the only species that can do this, right? And we don't, right? But I think that just like taking a moment is a critical piece for us to be able to do that. So it's just, I don't know, it's weird. Since last week's passion break, I feel like I keep getting these moments where I'm like, I need to just like be with this because it's just making me feel really good.
Dude, I'm with you 1,000%. It's we are raised in a very movement-based society, right? Like everything is about progress, productivity, busy, getting things done. And I mean, I'm not the only one that knows this. I feel like we all are aware of this. We've all done it, where we use busy as this badge of honor. It's our level of importance. We feel important when we're doing and when we're contributing, no matter what that looks like. But the human experience is about experiencing, not just doing. It's about being able to integrate these lessons. For me, I'm a dream what is it called? I'm a dream. Just lost my word. Anyways, a lot of my integration happens through dreaming. So if I'm having a really hard day or a stressful day, or I've been doing a lot of things, my dreams almost sequence the information, and then the next day I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. How did I not see that yesterday? Right? But it's because I was in that moment, in that mode of just do, that my body's like, okay, great. Like, when is she going to bed? Like, we got shit to do, you know? But what I've learned in the past 3 years or so, and I'm still learning it, is how to give myself space in the day, how to give myself space in the day to really integrate and understand. And it's a lot more of a slower pace that I'm used to. I was used to just like, I thought speed was everything, right? And it's addictive. It's like a dopamine hit, speed, right? Sitting down doesn't do the same thing. It takes time to be in relationship with being able to sit down, be still, feel the emotions, reflect on what that means for us, and understand where we're creating space for those celebrations, like Tracy was talking about. But it is, it's again, it goes back to this like nuance of how we're trained, what we need to unlearn, what feels and sits right with us to create these optimal, thriving lives where we can experience passion, where we can invite more purpose in. And unfortunately, our cultures aren't designed for that. it's very, it's almost like the antithesis of it. It's like we want it, but we don't know how to sit with it long enough to understand it and to become it, right? Like even this whole idea of finding, everyone's finding passion or finding purpose. And well, that's not the way it works. We don't find these emotions. We don't find these mental states. We don't go looking for it. There's nothing to search for. There's nothing to search for. It's literally around what is your relationship and how are you connecting to yourself? And in that connection with self, how are you expressing that in a way that feels authentic and natural to you, that's aligned with the things that you believe, value, and find that's truthful? And you're expressing that in the way that you be inside of what you do. But yes, these entanglements that I find so juicy, right? It's never this simple thing. And I feel like oversimplification of the human condition becomes really frustrating because you don't ever get to the real stuff, that's under the hood that needs to be tinkered with, played with, examined, and understood so that you can create something real from it. Just my thoughts. What are yours, Lauren?
I have so many thoughts. You both said such juicy things. First of all, congratulations on your dreaming, because my dreams are all anxiety based. And last night I had a dream that somebody gave me a baby and it was my responsibility to raise her.
Oh my God. Do you want to know what babies mean in dreams? Hold on. But babies are really cool in dreams. Side note, because babies actually represent the shedding of ego. So interesting. It's like it's a
That's
development.
interesting and kind of fitting for where I am right now. That's funny. It's all this talk about being that is getting to me in these moments that you're having, Tracy. And I always was a hand raiser. That's how I got to 80 to 100-hour work weeks, because somebody would say, who's going to think about this? Who's going to lead this? Who's going to take this on? And if there was a second of silence in the room, I will. And then I trained everybody to wait to see if I would raise my hand. And I did. And so because I was such a doer, I never gave myself the opportunity to be. And I had to learn to embrace silence, which was like not quick. It wasn't like I went from doing all the time to like, now I just love silence. I had to like exercise sitting on my hands to remind myself not to raise them. I had to exercise counting in my head the number of seconds to be quiet, because I wanted to fill the space in order to comfort other people and myself. And learning to be in quiet, and even learning what being is separate from doing, right? You ask somebody how they're being, they start telling you what they're doing to get out of mood, to get into a mood, to achieve something, right? And so even learning what being actually is, and then being able to sit in it and absorb it and allow the quiet. And that's like so large in this beta that we just did in the 7-day boot camp, because there were so many exercises where you got the opportunity to sit down with yourself and just explore yourself within these parameters, and really explore, what do you do and how do you be? There's no great grammar for that, but it's the what do you do and the how do you be, and how does that all come together? And then what do you do with it, and how do you want to be about it? Do you want to be so excited that you discovered what your passion is and how you want to express it, and you've gotten clarity and you know your purpose, and then be mad because it's taking extra time out of your day? Or do you want to do that same thing and be like so filled with joy that now you get to, right? And so there's just the being. I was also in a being with kind of state in just watching this group come together, and not just support and receive support up and down, but across, like the whole group came together and they were supporting each other and lifting each other up, and also finding their own expression of who and how they are. So really, it was such a powerful opportunity to sit with yourself and like let things get figured out, not like be in the middle of doing it.
And I think that it says a lot to purpose to me again, right? Because I feel like a lot of, for all three of us for sure, right? Like we had these parts in our career where we just filled it with doing, right? And the doing burned us out, made us sick, right? Like, and you're like, that is not the path to purpose, right? And yet we show up and we do the things, right? And I'm not saying you never have to do a thing, right? Like you can't just meditate all day and end up somewhere different, but it might be more impactful than some of the other activities we do for sure. But it's just like we have to have that beingness. It has to be a part of the equation. Otherwise, it's almost like purpose is unreachable. It just becomes another thing on our checklist of things that we're out to do in life. And then you are like, to me, it's just like, why? So, like, why are you looking for your purpose? Is it because someone else told you you should? Because if it's because someone else told you you should, it's not a good reason. Right? And it's also like we see that a lot at the Passion Center too, right? Like people think it's a good idea. It's a good idea to find your passion, right? But it's not even close to the top of the list of priorities, right? So like the fact of the matter is you're not going to do it then, right? And it's not that that's bad. Doesn't mean you're a bad person because you're not ready to explore your passion today or your purpose today. That's not the point. The point is that like we just have to be honest with ourselves. The most important thing for me right now is this. And then you should take action and take being in alignment with that thing, right? Mm-hmm. We're not here to convince everybody to make a passion decision today, right? It's about how do these things come into play and like, do I want that? Can I try it on and feel it? Do I want that? Do I not want it? It seems like a good idea is never going to get you anywhere.
But I think that that's the whole value of being able to create and being the creators of our own lives. We get to make those decisions for ourselves. We get to sit with ourselves and really think through and connect with, where am I on my discovery journey? Where am I on my developmental journey? And for me, there was a huge portion of my life where thinking about being or doing my passion did not apply. It could not apply. It was not in my cards. I had a different focus, and that focus was really important. So, and that's okay. I totally gave myself grace for that. And because of that, I was able to find a pocket of time later in life where this now has become very real to me. And by the by, now that I've experienced this, I can never go back to the other stuff. So I've got to do everything in my power to stay here. From here, because it's such a different experience, but it's the range of the human experience, and we have to learn how to celebrate all of it, the shitty, the goodies, the greats, the uglies, whatever it is. Like it's what makes us whole and complete people. So I think you bring up a really good point in regards to like, how can we create those moments to really package that up and sit with it and say, you know, this is where I'm at, and it's okay. But inside of getting honest with yourself about that, you know, there's responsibilities and consequences to every type of decision or choice or creation that we're making, that we have to just own up and be very present to. So, okay, so I've got a message from you. Yep, we're past the hour. All right. So we're past the hour, guys. Time's up. So what we're going to be doing is we're now switching. We're transitioning into the Passion Lab. So for those of you that have access into the Passion Lab, meet us in there. Apparently we can't pre-record or set it up.
We used to be able to like set up a live and then send the link so that everybody can hit the link, but I just tried it, and for whatever reason that is no longer a feature.
So what happens now is if you go into the actual community itself, if you get into the lab, you will see at the bottom going live, and just click onto it and that will get you in the room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on as Tracy does that. And for those of you that are interested in the conversation, for those of you that are new here, by the way, this is a second part of this experience that's available to our members. We also give it for, you know, you can come in at no cost if this is the first time that you want to be engaged. But now we're opening the conversation to everybody's experience. So this is going to be an experience where everyone gets to be a part of this conversation. If you have any questions that are lingering, or if you have any reflections or shares that you want to do, it's just such a beautiful thing to do in community versus just this being about, Tracy, Lauren, and I, and you guys in the chats. This is a much more richer, dynamic conversation, and we would love to have you participate in that. So Tracy is moving over to the lab. She's going to open up the link. For you guys that are already in there, get over to the lab now and get in the link.
I had to like switch my camera, and I didn't remember I was still on this camera because for whatever reason, Circle won't pick up my webcam. So that's why that happened. But I'm live.
It's great. We see you in action.
Yeah, this is you doing. I love it.
Yeah, I'll see you all over there.
All right, brilliant. And I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer, just in the chance that any one of you that doesn't have access wants to have access. So just put it in the chats, send me a DM, and we can set you up. Dun, 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 dun.
Sing it.
Robert, yes. Oh, wait a second. You know what? While we're waiting, Lauren, Hal had a question for you that I saw in the chats. Nope, that's not what it was. Hold on. Now I got to go back and find it. There we go. All right, Lauren, you can answer this. So guys, for any of you that want to hop over into the community, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes here, maybe 2, maybe 1. So Lauren, depending on how much Lauren has to answer this, how much time it takes for her to answer this. Lauren, what is your experience with society and their desiring of new knowledge around passion inputs? When do you feel your passion is the most activated and alive?
Ooh, good questions. You always ask the juicy questions. So I'll start with the second one. I feel the most activated and alive when I am face to face with another person. And whether that's a client, whether that's in community with a number of people, if somebody is willing to be in the room with me and bring their whole selves, their joy, their grief, their whatever, that is when I am the most activated. The human connection is just like everything to me. And my core word is choice, which started because I always forgot that I had choice, and has led into like, we always have a choice. And even when a thing happens to us, we have a choice for what is next. And so I love being in a conversation where that gets to be highlighted. And it makes me just like so happy. So that's me. In terms of society, I think, Kira, you said it, that we just get busy, right? And we're doing, and we are not trained to be as humans. We are trained to fill our time. When I was a kid, it was everybody's thing that you had an after school activity and maybe some religious school and, a responsibility and chores. And so there was never like being bored, right?
No.
We weren't trained to be bored. And so I find now that I have to remind myself to have downtime. I have to remind myself that rest is a choice. It's not a resignation. Like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't do anything else. It's like, what do I want to do? Do I want to rest? Do I want to be in meditation? Do I want to write? Do I want to be in conversation with somebody? But as a society, I think, unfortunately, it takes either burnout or near burnout to either decide I'm going to take something less stressful, but that I don't enjoy because I just want to get by and be fine for the rest of my life. Or we get pushed to a different edge, which is, well, I can't live in burnout like this for the rest of my life. So I have to do something different. And those people who think they have to do something different, those are the people who are changing their own narratives, changing their lives, and impacting other people's lives. Because when you're following your passion and you're really doing the things that you both are best at and enjoy the most, you're making the most impact.
That's your unique contribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's what you're uniquely qualified to do. When those two beautiful things can come together, there is no way that passion and purpose doesn't manifest inside of that. Right. And I think that's sometimes the challenge. We separate the words from ourselves,
Mm.
and it's not. It is ourselves. It's ourselves fully expressed. And when we can really get that, then we don't even need to have a conversation about passion purpose anymore. We'll
Right.
all just be in that energy and in that experience. So I
Yeah.
love that answer so much. And on that
I saw
note,
that Kim said there's no link available. So Kim, you're in the community. You should be able to go just log in like you normally do and see a link to go into the live.
on the left-hand side in the menu bar, you will see that. And if you don't see it, I would like you to send me a message so that we can get you in. So on that note, folks, we are going to close off this passion break for today, but we will be back, same bat time, same back channel next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.